on behalf of President Day, I realized I done had interaction with 4 presidents. And I didn't realize that until one day my ex-wife called me from Vietnam. And I put a post up in Facebook. And I think it's kind of like missed opportunities or, missed opportunities. And I talked to Clinton, Trump, Obama. At the time it was 3. But now we're about to make 4. So I thought about that today and say, do a little something. Because somebody told me, say, it's very rare to talk to one president or to communicate with one president. And you done did it with 4? People be thinking you're lying all the time, So I showed them a letter from Biden. I showed them a letter I wrote, and I showed them a letter Biden wrote back. Or, his staff wrote back, but, they got his name on it and his signature on a presidential letterhead, right? But let me start with the first one, right? I was contacted by President Clinton, who had did 3 years of research on me, and discovered I closed a book on slavery and black history, the old black history. He said all the experts agreed that Abraham Lincoln might have ended slavery, but he said all the experts say, son, you closed the book on it. And we don't think you realize who you will. Which I knew who I was. You know what I mean? I know what I had to did. I ain't stupid, but and he told me, you're one of the smartest and greatest black leaders I ever talked to, son. And I said, yeah, well, the feeling mutual, sir. You one of the greatest men and smartest I ever talked to. And I love your whole entire family. And then we went to talking and he said the expert want to bring me out in 2050 for my protection and my family protection. And they will publish all my books, just write them. It's something going to be invented called the internet. You can go on social media and write them and delete them. You can go to text messages, write it and delete them. You can write them in emails. If you want to write it, delete it. Everything you write come to us, right? And we'll publish all the books and blah, blah, blah. He said just one thing. If we publish them, your family gets 0. And we advise you not to publish nothing, not to bring danger to your family and blah, blah, blah. And all kind of stuff. But you ain't got to mention the college name. You ain't got to mention none of the school name. You ain't got to mention an individual's name, right? It makes sense at the time. And he also gave me a presidential password so I can talk to any federal head, including the president, at any time. Only the department head can read my letters or my files, But anyway, I never thought I'd be using it until a couple of years later, like, hell, long time later, because that was in 95 or 96, And I didn't use it until 2016, and we'll get to that later. But after Clinton, I applied for a job at Trump Resort in West Palm Beach, right? As an assistant golf course superintendent. Trump called me back, and I was shocked that I got a call from Donald Trump, and boy, he's a charmer, and he feed me this dream of once his name get on my resume, I'd be able to pick any job I want around the world because his name is nationwide. Sounded good. The pay wasn't great. And he say, after 3 years, I become a boss. Well, I done been through that rodeo a few times. Especially with my dad. He learned me the lesson about that. That never come true. At least not that you black. I've just seen it come true for thousands of white superintendents. I ain't never seen it come true for a black in golf course management, which I'm the only one with a degree. So I ain't had many to look at, but I was gonna still take the job. And the pay was low, I mean real low. The pay was lower than what I was making in America. So I say, well, will I be able to stay at the resort? He said, no. After 3 years, you will. He said, but the military escort you to work every morning. All the workers live in the village. And they walk to work 5 miles. And they walk back 5 miles with a military escort. I said, why they military escort? He said, because they're having a civil war. The guerrillas trying to take over the government. Remind you, I'm a prodigy. So I'm thinking, if that's the case, that combat pay. And plus, I'm supposed to have protection at all times, like living on the resort or whatever. So I basically turned the job down because, man, my knee. Hell, I can't even walk 1 mile back then. I couldn't even walk 1 mile back then, let alone talking about 5 miles of work and 5 mile bike. Hell, I'd be dead shit in 2 or 3 weeks, Because most of the jobs on a golf course is machines, If we do hard work, don't get me wrong, but my knees were already bad, so I had to turn that down. So the next president I talked to was Obama. And I never had to ask a grown man for a favor, But I was low as I can get. And my girlfriend at the time said, Obama get out of office in 3 months. Let me see, do your little presidential code word work, right? I said, well, what I'm going to say? She said, you talk to him like you talk to anybody else. And I would proofread your letter. So I wrote, Obama, put the presidential code word on front, So the mail reader will see presidential code word. And like Clinton said, they must have took it to Obama. Straight to Obama. And I got a phone call like 3 days later. Say on behalf of the White House. Blah, 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 blah. And my girlfriend looked at me. She was smoking a cigarette and it just dropped on the floor. She said, is you really who you say you is and you did all them things? I said, I told you, yeah. She said, oh my freaking God. So now Obama got 3 weeks in office. And my girlfriend say, hey, why don't you ask Obama to release your history? Because at the time I decided to write my book, right? And I said, man, them people ain't gonna be able to do all that in 3 weeks. She said, what it gonna hurt? So that when they just got the web page on Facebook. So I wrote Obama and blah, 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 blah. And I think when Clinton did the 3 years of research, Yale and Harvard law team did all the research. And I don't know whether Obama hadn't graduated then, but if not, he was the head of the research for whatever school he went to, which I think are Harvard. But so he would know what I was writing. And next thing I know, Facebook shut me down. They say the Secret Service want to see 4 forms of ID. They want to see 2 bills with your name and address on it. They want to see birth certificate or something. Right? So I did everything they told me to do. Right? Sent it to Facebook and the White House Facebook page, right? After a while, I was cleared. Facebook let me back on and blah, blah, blah. However what they were doing, but I wasn't even off that long by the day, I think, or if I was off. But they just want to see was I really who I was before I progressed forward. So when I got cleared, I asked Facebook. I say, what the highest clearance can I get than Secret Service? Can y'all please give me my blue check mark? Because maybe I can get some followers so I can sell my book or get help with my book. Get promotions or people help me with my book. Because if they see the blue check mark back then, that means you're real. And you'd have been checked out by Facebook security. But I was checked out by Secret Service along with Facebook. And I asked Facebook, hey, can y'all give me my blue check mark? They just pour author under my name. I say, damn, man. You know what I said to myself? Now, they seen Secret Service check me out and had them to check me out. Just give me the check mark, man. Well, people don't try to help you nowadays, right? Now, the last one I contacted, President, and I contacted him 2 times, I think. One time, both times on Black History Month. I contacted Bowen, his wife, because she's a doctor of education, and I contacted Camilla Harris and say, would you please release my history to all the schools, to all the black organizations, the Harlem ISIS. So the first time, Bowden had his speechwriter approach me on Lincoln. And she didn't know who I was, I understand, but she said, son, we'd have had a couple of different administrations since Clinton. Biden don't have a clue what you talking about. Or nothing Clinton had going on. So you got to start all over again and talk to the president like you never met him before. I say, miss, how you think Biden got my letter? I say, I got a presidential code word to talk to any department head in the federal government until eternity. When I die, my family, according to Mr. Clinton, can talk directly to any department head, including the president of the United States. Now, he told me if I decide to publish my books, which he kind of urged me, because he said he wanted to read them before he died. And you decide to publish your book, just contact the sitting president. But let me tell you, son, don't contact no Republican presidents. because they might destroy everything. Just contact the Democratic president. And but it's up to them to release it before the pre-designated release date, which I think he told me was 2050, because that's when they were expecting the Civil War. But I contacted Baldwin, and he sent the lady to talk to me. I told him. And I say, and she said, you got to explain it like you never talked to him, the president, before. And I say, Miss, they gave me a code word. The code word would take you to the file. And the file will have everything in there. That's what Clinton told me. He said they also get briefed when every president comes, because he put my name in the book where every president leave their wish toward the future, all the way from George Washington. So he got me in there, I guess, for 2050, so all the president will get a briefing on me. The first week in office, or whatever Clinton say, the first week or first month, they go over all the past president wishes. And that new president got to pick one out of there. And then she understand, right? She understand. So next thing I know, I got a letter from Joe Biden. And he talked it good. It was a good letter. But he say, you will have to do this without the help of the federal government by spreading your story online on many sites as possible. And it will gradually build up. But you will have to do this for the long, son, without the federal government. And I know he was going to say that because he's straight protocol. Now Clinton or Obama or even Trump, they would have granted me that wish. The first Trump, not the second Trump. The first term Trump, he would have granted me that wish, but no way he'll do it now. And sometimes I'll sit down, and I know I done communicated with 4 presidents and first ladies and the one first black lady over I think the Department of Justice or something. Because I wrote her also when I wrote, the Obama card, you're supposed to write all of them. You just don't write one. But can't nobody do that but the president, according to Clinton. He the only one can bring my history out. But I wrote, Biden's wife and Kamala Harris, because they can push them, say, hey, have you seen the guy? You should go ahead and contact all the colleges. But it didn't work. He told me, I got to do it on my own, so I'm still here. But happy President Day. And this is my President Day story. Thank you and God bless.